I never imagined a trip to West Texas would unravel the threads of my carefully woven life, but that's exactly what happened the summer I turned 28. Eden Harper had been my anchor since freshman year at UT Austin. Two wide-eyed girls from opposite sides of the tracks, bonding over late-night study sessions fueled by cheap tacos and dreams bigger than the Lone Star sky. She was the one with the easy laugh that could cut through any tension, her auburn hair catching the light like wildfire on the plains, and eyes the color of storm clouds rolling in from the west. I was Riley Hayes, the quiet journalism major with a notebook always in hand, scribbling stories to make sense of a world that felt too chaotic to contain. It started innocently enough, or so I told myself. A text from Eden in early June. Hey cowgirl. Family Farmhouse is calling. Empty rooms, endless stars, and zero Austin traffic. Come escape with me? I'd been buried under deadlines at the Statesman, chasing leads on City Hall corruption that left me numb. The idea of wide open spaces, no Wi-Fi signal to tether me to my screens, sounded like salvation. Plus, there was the unspoken pull between us, that electric undercurrent we'd danced around for years, brushing hands over coffee, lingering hugs that said more than words ever could. In the safety of friendship, we'd let it simmer, unlabeled and unclaimed. I flew into Lubbock on a sweltering Friday afternoon, the airport a ghost town of faded glory under the relentless sun. Eden waited at arrivals in her beat-up Ford pickup, dust caked on the fenders like war paint. She hopped out, all 6 feet of her lean frame unfolding with that trademark grin, pulling me into a bear hug that smelled of sagebrush and home. Riley Hayes, as I live and breathe. You look like you haven't seen sunlight since winter. Her Texas drawl wrapped around me like a warm blanket, and for a moment, the exhaustion melted away. The drive to the Harper farm took 2 hours, cutting through the Llano Estacado like a knife through butter, flat as a pancake, vast as an ocean, with horizon lines that tricked the eye into thinking freedom was just 1 more mile away. We talked over the hum of the engine, catching up on the minutiae. Her latest rodeo photography gig, my botched attempt at dating a barista who collected vintage typewriters. Laughter filled the cab, easy and familiar, but underneath it I felt the shift. Eden's hands gripped the wheel a little tighter when we passed the rusted silos of her hometown, her stories skirting the edges of something heavier, unspoken. The farmhouse loomed at the end of a gravel drive, a squat 2-story relic from the 1920s, its white clapboard peeling like old skin under the baking sun. Crepe myrtles flanked the porch, their blooms a defiant pink against the ochre earth. Chickens scratched in the yard, and a lone windmill creaked lazily, pumping water from depths I couldn't fathom. Home sweet hell, Eden quipped, killing the engine. Mom's in town for bridge club, Dad's off hauling cattle. It's just us and the ghosts. We unloaded my duffel and her camera bag, the screen door groaning in protest as we stepped inside. The air was thick with the scent of aged wood and lavender sachets, sunlight slanting through lace curtains to paint golden pools on the hardwood floors. Eden's room was upstairs, a time capsule of posters from her high school rodeo days and shelves crammed with dog-eared paperbacks, Steinbeck, McCarthy, the brutal poets of the American Southwest. Mine was the guest room across the hall, simple with a quilted bedspread and a window overlooking the back pasture, where cottonwoods whispered secrets to the wind. That first evening we cooked like we were back in our Austin apartment, Eden chopping onions with theatrical flair while I stirred chili on the ancient gas stove. The radio crackled with George Strait, his voice a low twang against the sizzle of beef. Wine flowed from a box we'd smuggled in, loosening tongues and inhibitions. As the sky bruised purple outside, we carried our bowls to the porch swing, the chains creaking under our weight. Fireflies blinked like fallen stars, and for the first time in months, I felt unmoored in the best way. Present, alive with her. You're different out here, I said, swirling the dregs of my glass. Freer. Like the city's just a bad dream. Eden leaned back, her bare feet propped on the railing, toes painted a chipped red. This place. Its roots and rot all tangled up. Beautiful, but it digs in deep. Her voice softened, gaze drifting to the darkening fields. You ever feel like you're running from something you can't name? I nodded, the wine-making honesty spill easier. Every day. But with you? Feels like I could stop. Our eyes met, and there it was, the spark we'd both pretended wasn't a flame. She reached over, tucking a stray curl behind my ear, her thumb lingering on my cheek. Time stretched, thin as the high desert air, until a coyote's howl shattered the moment. We laughed it off, but the seed was planted, blooming quiet in the spaces between words. The next morning dawned with the ferocity of a West Texas summer. Sunrise bleeding red across the sky, heat already shimmering off the tin roof. Eden dragged me out for a ride before the mercury climbed, saddling up 2 horses from the neighbor's stable. Dusty, a bay gelding with a blaze like a lightning scar, and Luna, a gentle gray mare who nuzzled my shoulder like an old friend. We trotted out across the mesa, the rhythm of hooves syncing with our breaths, wind whipping our hair into wild halos. Eden pointed out landmarks with the pride of a storyteller. The arroyo where she'd broken her arm at 12, the wind-sculpted rock formations that locals called the Devil's Fingers. We dismounted by a dry creek bed, spreading a blanket for a picnic of jerky and cold Dr. Pepper. Lying side by side, staring up at buzzards wheeling lazy circles, she turned to me. "Riley, there's something I need to tell you. About why I really asked you here." My pulse quickened, half expecting a confession of the heart. But her face clouded, jaw tightening. "It's about Destiny." I'd heard the name in passing, Eden's older sister, the golden child who'd left for college and never looked back. A myth, really valedictorian scholarship winner, the one who'd made it out. Eden rarely spoke of her, and when she did, it was with a bitterness that tasted like dust. "Destiny's coming home," Eden said, plucking at a blade of buffalo grass. "Tomorrow. And it's gonna tear this place apart." I sat up, the sun hot on my back. "What do you mean?" I thought she was in New York, some fancy editor gig. She laughed, but it was hollow, echoing off the baked earth. "That's the story we tell. The pretty one. Truth is, she's been running. From us, from me. From what happened 10 years ago." The words hung heavy, and I waited, giving her the silence she needed. Finally she spoke, voice barely above the whisper of wind through mesquite. "Destiny and I, we weren't just sisters. We were everything to each other. In a town like this where folks pray for rain and whisper about those kinds behind closed doors, we found a world in the shadows of this house. Stolen kisses in the barn, promises etched in the rafters. It was love, Riley, fierce, forbidden, the kind that reshapes your bones." My breath caught, the pieces slotting into place. The way Eden's eyes would glaze over old family photos, the ache in her stories of lost youth. "What happened?" I asked, though part of me dreaded the answer. "Scandal," she spat, sitting up to face me. "Dad caught us one night, summer before her senior year. Bible thumpin' rage like I'd never seen. Shouts that shook the walls, threats of hellfire and disowning. Destiny took the brunt. She was always the protector. Promised Dad it'd end, that she'd fix us both by leaving. Packed a bag at dawn, vanished to Austin with just a note. 'I'm sorry. Live free.'" Tears tracked dirt-streaked paths down her cheeks, and I pulled her close, our bodies fitting like puzzle pieces worn smooth by time. "She broke me, Riley. Left me to rot in this silence, pretending it was just puppy love gone wrong. But it was my heart she carved out and took with her." We stayed like that until the heat drove us back, the confession a bridge between us, vulnerable, real. That night, as thunder rumbled distant over the caprock, we crossed it. Curled on her bed under the quilt her grandmother stitched. Hands entwined, lips meeting soft and tentative. It wasn't fire, it was embers reigniting. A quiet claiming that spoke of futures we dared to imagine. Eden's touch was reverence, her whispers a litany of "you see me, you stay." In the farmhouse's creaking embrace, I fell, not just for her, but into the messy grace of loving someone whole. But dawn brought the truck's rumble, gravel crunching under tires. Destiny Harper had returned, stepping out like a specter in Ray-Bans and city heels, her dark waves tamed in a sleek bob, suitcase in hand. She was striking, high cheekbones, olive skin glowing from urban polish, eyes the same stormy gray as Eden's but sharpened by years of armor. "Little sis," she called, voice honey over gravel. "Miss me?" Eden froze in the kitchen doorway, coffee mug trembling. I hovered behind, an intruder in their reunion. The air thickened, charged with the scent of rain on dust and the undercurrent of old wounds. Destiny's gaze flicked to me, appraising, then back to Eden with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Who's the friend? Bringing strays home now?" "Riley," Eden managed, stepping forward. "From Austin. Journalist. She's important." Destiny's laugh was light, but it sliced. Important. Goo. Well, come on in, Riley. Family's what we do best. Hide it or hate it. As she breezed past, brushing Eden's shoulder with deliberate casualness, I saw the flinch, the flicker of something feral in Eden's eyes. The truth she'd shared by the creek bed? It was just the prologue. Destiny's homecoming was the storm we'd been circling, and I was caught in its eye, loving a woman whose past wore the face of betrayal. The first 24 hours with Destiny under the Harper roof felt like walking a tightrope over a chasm. Every word a potential slip, every glance a gust threatening to unbalance us. She claimed the room next to mine, unpacking with the efficiency of someone who'd learned to leave no trace. Silk blouses hung precisely, a stack of manuscripts on the dresser from her life as a literary agent in Manhattan. Over breakfast the next morning, biscuits and gravy steaming on the scarred oak table. She regaled us with tales of book launches and Broadway shows, her voice a polished drawl that masked the twang beneath. Eden picked at her food, eyes downcast, while I played the polite interloper, nodding along to stories that felt like smoke and mirrors. "You're quiet, Riley," Destiny noted, buttering a biscuit with surgical precision. "Eden says you're a writer. What's your poison? True crime? Romance?" "People," I replied, meeting her gaze. "The ones who don't fit the narrative." Her smile sharpened, a glint of recognition. "Ah, the outliers. We Harpers know a thing or two about that." She reached across to squeeze Eden's hand, lingering just a beat too long. Eden pulled away like she'd been burned, excusing herself to check the horses. The silence that followed hummed with implication. Destiny's eyes on me like she was reading the subtext of my soul. Afternoon brought a fragile truce. The three of us piling into the pickup for a drive to the Palo Duro Canyon, that jagged scar in the earth where the plains cracked open to reveal crimson cliffs and hidden springs. Eden drove, radio tuned low to Lucinda Williams crooning about car wheels on a gravel road. Destiny sat shotgun, pointing out childhood haunts, the swimming hole where they'd skip stones, the overlook where they'd dream of escaping Leveland's chokehold. "Remember the time we snuck out to watch the Perseids?" she asked Eden, voice soft with nostalgia. "Swore we'd hitch to California, start over." Eden's knuckles whitened on the wheel. "Yeah, swore a lot of things." I watched from the back, the canyon unfolding like a wound dressed in wildflowers, Indian paintbrush blazing red against the rust-hued rock. We hiked a trail at midday, the heat a living thing pressing down, but the view stole breath. Layers of geology telling stories older than grudges. At a promontory, wind howling like banshees, Destiny turned to Eden, her face stripped bare. "I came back because I can't run anymore. The city's eaten me hollow, deals and deadlines, but no you. We were kids, Eden. Scared. But I'm not anymore." Eden's laugh was bitter, whipped away by the gusts. "Kids? You left me to Dad's sermons and Mom's pity. 10 years of pretending I wasn't broken because the girl I loved chose survival over us." Destiny recoiled, then stepped closer, voice breaking. "I chose us by going. Thought distance would heal it, let you build something real. Not this. Echo." I stood apart, heart aching for them both. The raw edges of a love twisted by fear and faith. But as Destiny's hand found Eden's arm, pulling her into a desperate half-embrace, jealousy coiled in my gut, sharp as barbed wire. This was their history, a tapestry I couldn't unweave. Yet in that moment, with the canyon yawning below, I saw the truth. Destiny hadn't just returned for Eden. She'd come to reclaim what she'd shattered, and I was collateral in the mending. Back at the farmhouse, tension simmered like stew on low boil. Evenings blurred into a rhythm of uneasy domesticity. Destiny commandeering the kitchen for pasta primavera that tasted of imported olives and regret, Eden retreating to the darkroom she'd rigged in the old smokehouse, developing rolls of film that captured the land's stark poetry. I'd join her there, the red safe light casting us in crimson glow, our fingers brushing over trays of emulsion as she murmured about light bending to reveal hidden shapes. One night, as monsoon rains lashed the windows, rare mercy in the drought, Eden and I stole away to the attic, a dusty area of forgotten heirlooms, trunks of lace dresses, yellowed letters tied with twine. We spread a sleeping bag amid the cobwebs, rain a percussion on the tin roof, and let the world shrink to us. Her kisses were deeper now, laced with the urgency of borrowed time, hands mapping the curve of my hip, the dip of my collarbone. "You're mine now," she whispered against my skin. The one thing destiny can't touch. But she could, and did. The next morning I woke to voices drifting up from the kitchen, low, urgent, laced with the cadence of confrontation. Slipping downstairs in sock feet, I paused at the threshold, unseen. Destiny stood by the sink, arms crossed, her face a mask of controlled fury. Eden leaned against the counter, head bowed. You bring her here to hurt me? Destiny hissed. Parade your little Austin affair like a trophy? I know what this is, payback for leaving. Eden's voice rose, cracking. It's not about you. Riley sees me, the me you buried under your goodbye. We're real, Des. Not some fever dream you outgrew. A pause heavy as the humid air. Then Destiny, softer, wounded. I never outgrew you. Every city light, every stranger's bed. It was you I was chasing. Come back to me, Eden. We can fix this. Leave her out of our mess. The words landed like a slap, and I backed away, throat tight, fleeing to the porch where the rain had left puddles mirroring the overcast sky. Betrayal wasn't just in the leaving. It was in the claiming. The way Destiny's return rewrote our fragile peace into a battlefield. Eden found me there an hour later, her face pale, eyes red-rimmed. She told me everything, she said, sinking beside me on the steps. The years alone, the women who weren't me. Says she's changed, that we can be us again. Without the hiding. And you? I asked, voice steady despite the storm inside. What do you want? She took my hand, threading our fingers like lifelines. You. This. But blood's thicker than choice, Riley. She's my beginning. You're my horizon. We spent the day in limbo, driving aimless loops through cotton fields heavy with bowls. The radio preaching gospel anthems that felt like mockery. Destiny stayed behind, giving space. But her absence loomed larger than presence, a shadow puppeteering our doubts. By dusk, as we returned to the farmhouse aglow with lantern light, the air crackled with impending rupture. Dinner was a minefield. Forced chatter over fried chicken and okra, forks scraping plates like accusations. It broke after, in the living room where a stone fireplace stood cold sentinel. Destiny produced a bottle of bourbon from her suitcase, aged Kentucky, smooth as lies, and poured measures into jelly jars. To homecomings, she toasted, clinking against Eden's glass. I sipped mine, the burn grounding me as stories flowed, laced with half-truths. Destiny spoke of her ascent. The Ivy League MFA, the agent gig that landed her clients on bestseller lists. But cracks showed, the tremor in her hand, the way her eyes darted to Eden like a compass needle. Then Eden, emboldened by the liquor, laid it bare. Why now, Des? After a decade of postcards and platitudes, what dragged you back to this dust bowl? Destiny set her jar down, deliberate. Cancer. Stage 3. Docs in New York gave me 6 months if I'm lucky. Turns out, dying makes you honest. The room spun, the words a grenade with the pin pulled. Eden's face drained of color, hand flying to her mouth. What? Why didn't you call? Fly out. Destiny's laugh was jagged. Bride. Shame. Thought I could handle it solo like always. But lying in that sterile bed, staring at fluorescence, all I saw was this house. You. The life I torched. Tears spilled unchecked, carving paths down her cheeks. I came to beg forgiveness. To say I love you, not as sisters but as the woman who owns my soul. And if that's too much, at least let me die knowing we tried. Eden crumpled, crossing the room in 2 strides to envelop her, sobs muffled in dark hair. I sat frozen, the bourbon sour in my throat, watching love's ghost resurrect in real time. This wasn't just betrayal. It was a reckoning, forcing choices no heart should make. As they clung, whispering apologies into the lamplight, I slipped out to the night, the plains swallowing my footsteps. Under a canopy of indifferent stars I wept, not for loss, but for the beauty in their brokenness, the way love, even fractured, demanded witness. The diagnosis hung over the farmhouse like a pall, muting the world to sepia tones. Days blurred into a vigil. Mornings of black coffee and hushed consultations with doctors via crackling phone lines. Afternoons tending the garden where tomatoes swelled fat and red, defiant against the heat. Destiny's energy waxed and waned, brittle smiles 1 hour, bone-deep fatigue the next, but her presence anchored us, a fierce gravity pulling Eden into orbits of care and conflict. I became the outsider orbiting too, cooking meals from recipes scrawled in Mom Harper's spidery hand, driving to Lubbock for chemo supplies that smelled of antiseptic promise. Eden and Destiny's reconnection was a delicate dance. Tentative touches over Scrabble tiles, late-night confessions by the fire pit where mesquite smoke curled like unanswered questions. I'd catch them on the porch at dawn, heads bent close, Eden braiding Destiny's thinning hair with fingers that trembled. Love, I learned, wasn't possession. It was this surrendering space for healing, even when it carved out your own. But resentment festered, quiet as roots under soil. One evening, as cicadas chorused their dirge, I confronted Eden in the barn, surrounded by hay bales and the earthy musk of horses. "This isn't fair," I said, voice echoing off the rafters. "You promised me you're now, but she's stealing it, piece by piece like she's entitled." Eden paused, currycomb in hand, grooming Dusty with strokes that matched her ragged breaths. "It's not stealing, Riley. It's surviving. Destiny's dying. I can't turn my back on that. And me." I pressed, stepping closer, the air thick between us. "Am I just the interlude? The safe harbor till the storm passes?" Her eyes, shadowed by exhaustion, met mine, raw pleading. "You're the shore I want to wash up on. But she's the tide that shaped me. If I lose her without making peace, it'll drown me too." We argued then, words flying like sparks from flint. Accusations of selfishness, pleas for understanding. I stormed out, kicking dust into the twilight, driving the pickup into the night until the headlights caught jackrabbits frozen in flight. Hours later, I returned to find them asleep on the living room rug, entwined like vines, a half-finished puzzle of a West Texas sunset scattered around them. The sight twisted the knife. Beauty in their vulnerability, pain in my exclusion. I covered them with a throw, retreating to my room where sleep came fitful, haunted by dreams of horizons I couldn't reach. The climax came on a Sunday in late July, the air heavy with the promise of thunderheads massing east. Mom and Dad Harper had arrived from town, their pickup laden with casseroles and prayers, turning the farmhouse into a hive of awkward normalcy. Dad, a weathered rancher with hands like leather gloves, clapped Destiny on the back too hard, muttering about fightin' spirits and the good Lord's plan. Mom fussed with Afghans and herbal teas, her eyes avoiding the unspoken fractures. We gathered for lunch under the pecan tree, its shade a dappled reprieve, plates heaped with brisket and coleslaw. Conversation skirted the edges, crops, cousins, the county fair, but tension coiled tighter than a spring. It snapped when Dad, emboldened by iced tea and tradition, cleared his throat. "Des Eden bin Mayanin to say. That night, 10 years back, I was wrong. Scared fool, quotin' scripture like a club. Y'all are my girls. Blood and bone. Whatever shape love takes, it's yours to claim." The table stilled, forks suspended. Destiny's face crumpled, a sob escaping as she gripped Eden's hand. Mom nodded, tears silent, her own regrets etched in crow's feet. Eden looked between them, then to me across the cloth, her expression a crossroads. Forgiveness offered, future beckoning. But betrayal's shadow lingered. That night, after parents departed with hugs and vows of weekly visits, Destiny pulled Eden aside in the hallway, voices murmuring low. I lingered in the kitchen, pretending to scrub pots, ears straining. "I saw how you look at her," Destiny said, tone laced with old possessiveness. "Riley's good for you, steady kind. But don't fool yourself. I'm the fire. Always will be." Eden's reply was steel. "Fire burns out, Des. Riley's the dawn, the one that stays." The words bolstered me, but doubt gnawed. Later, alone on the porch, Eden joined me, a blanket around our shoulders against the cooling air. "Dad's olive branch changes things. Means we don't have to hide anymore. You and me, we can build here or Austin, wherever the wind takes us." "And Destiny?" I asked, leaning into her warmth. "She stays too. Family now, not chains. We'll navigate it. Therapy, time, all the messy grace of being human." Relief flooded, mingled with the ache of what we'd endured. We kissed then, slow and sure, the stars wheeling overhead like benediction. But fate, capricious as a West Texas twister, had one more twist. 2 weeks later, under a sky bruised with monsoon fury, Destiny collapsed in the garden mid-laugh, weeding rows of zinnias, her body betraying the fragile truce. We rushed her to the ER in Amarillo, rain sheeting the windshield, Eden's prayers a frantic litany beside me. Scans confirmed the spread: lungs, liver, a thief in the night. Hospice talks followed, back at the farmhouse, where we converted her room into a sanctuary of soft lights and morphine drips. The final days were a tapestry of tenderness. Eden reading aloud from their childhood favorite, The Grapes of Wrath, her voice steady through tears. Destiny dictating letters to clients, her wit undimmed. Me holding space, brewing tea, witnessing the love that bridged betrayal's chasm. One evening, as sunset painted the walls in fire, Destiny called us to her bedside. Frail but fierce, she took our hands. Eden's in her left, mine in her right. "You too," she rasped, smile crooked. "The best mistake I ever made was leaving. The best truth? Loving her led me to you, Riley. Y'all are the horizon I chased all those years." To Eden. "Forgive me fully. Live wide, love without apology." To me. "Guard her heart. It's wilder than these plains." She slipped away at midnight, rain a gentle requiem on the roof. We buried her in the family plot at dawn, under cottonwoods that whispered eulogies, the preacher's words a balm on old wounds. Eden and I stood arm in arm, her head on my shoulder, the earth receiving what the sky had borrowed. In the months that followed, the farmhouse transformed, not into a museum of grief, but a canvas for renewal. Eden's photos won a gallery show in Santa Fe, capturing the stark poetry of loss and light. I wrote our story, anonymized and aching, published in a literary journal that paid enough for us to add a studio wing. Room for art, words, the quiet expansion of us. Mom and Dad visited often. Their faith evolved into quiet acceptance, potlucks laced with questions about, when's the wedding? We didn't rush labels. Commitment ceremonies felt too scripted for souls shaped by wind and wonder. Instead, we built. Lazy Sundays mending fences, nights under the same quilt where Eden's laughter healed the hollow's betrayal's scar faded to silver. A reminder that love isn't flawless. It's the courage to tend the breaks. On the first anniversary of her passing, we scattered Destiny's ashes by the creek bed, the one from our picnic ride. Wind carried her skyward, mingling with dust devils dancing free. Eden turned to me, eyes clear as Caprock streams. She gave us this permission to be whole. And in the vast embrace of West Texas, where horizons promise without end, we were. Two women woven from storms and stars, loving fierce against the fade. Not a fairy tale but a testament. In the heart of betrayal's dust, grace blooms eternal.